Empire.
Welcome to Inside the Cap. I'm your host, Joel Corey. You can find me on Twitter at CoreyJoel. That's CorryJoel. You can also read my regular CBSSports.com column, Agents Take on NFL salary cap and contract matters. Today we're going to take a look at the plight of the running back. 2023 has been a terrible year for the running back. The latest bad news for running backs was yesterday, which was the deadline for players getting a franchise tag to sign long-term deals. There are 3 running backs that were franchised: Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. None of them got long-term deals. This means they cannot sign a long-term deal until the end of the 2023 regular season. The regular season ends on January 7th, 2024. The 3 other players that were given franchise tags, Lamar Jackson, Daron Payne, and Evan Ingram, got long-term deals. But everything went sideways for the running back all throughout this year, particularly once the league year started. At the end of the 2022 regular season, I should say, there were 8 running backs with contracts averaging $12 million per year or more. They were Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb. Those are 4 that are there right now. You've had 4 guys that were a part of the 8 who no longer are. Ezekiel Elliott was released by the Cowboys. Dalvin Cook last month got released by Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Jones took a pay cut early in the offseason to stay in Green Bay. He's supposed to make $16 million in 2023, chopped that down to $11 million. Then Joe Mixon last Friday took a pay cut. I believe he was supposed to make $9.4 million, now making $6 million in base salary. Timing couldn't have been any worse for the franchise running backs. You got the deadline Tuesday for them to do a deal. Then you got Mixon taking a pay cut Friday. You know, Jacobs and Barkley in particular are thinking, dude, could you have waited until Tuesday to do this? Now, compounding the problem is that in free agency, nobody got paid as a running back. Miles Sanders, career year in Philadelphia, rushed for 1,269 yards, had 11 rushing touchdowns, was 5th in the league in rushing, 8 in rushing touchdowns with the Eagles last year. Contract he signs, 4 years, $25.64 million to go to Carolina. Deal averages $6.35 million per year. It's $13 million fully guaranteed at signing. Now, the next best deal in free agency went to David Montgomery. He goes from the Bears to the Detroit Lions. $18 million over 3 years. $11 million in guarantees. $8.75 million fully guaranteed at signing. $6 million per year deal. So, running backs are getting the short end of the stick right now. And this is not something that is new in the NFL. Running back salaries have not kept pace with the growth that other positions have had. Now, Christian McCaffrey is the highest paid running back in the NFL. 3 years ago, April 2020, signs a 4-year contract extension averaging $16,015,853 per year. He had $39,162,500 in total guarantees. $30,062,500 is fully guaranteed at signing. That's 3 years ago. The last running back to sign a long-term deal for over $10 million per year or more was Nick Chubb in 2021. And that's when Chubb signed for $12.2 million per year. You don't see that at other positions. At running back in 2011, you had 2 running backs which were making over $13 million per year. You had Adrian Peterson at just a shade over $14.2 million per year with the Minnesota Vikings on the extension he signed. And he got that right after Chris Johnson signed an extension with the Titans, and he held out to get it for a shade under $13.5 million per year. They were among the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the NFL. Highest paid non-quarterback was a wide receiver. That was Larry Fitzgerald, whose deal averaged just a little over $16.1 million per year. If you look at how much the cap has gone up in that time, it's gone up basically 87% from when you had Adrian Peterson signed in 2011. The cap was $120.375 million then. Now it's $224.8 million. That's about 87%. Now, the running back salary, McCaffrey, highest paid guy, Peterson was then, that's just under 13%. Running back salaries have not kept pace with growth in the cap. Let's look at wide receiver. Wide receiver last year, that market exploded in a way you didn't see. You had four $20 million per year wide receivers at the end of the 2021 regular season. Right now, you got 13 of them. So all those guys filled in the blanks last year, and it was 14 before DeAndre Hopkins got released. So you had major growth in the wide receiver market. The running back market has stayed stagnant. Haven't had a big deal in 2 years. So if I'm a running back, I understand why you had multiple running backs yesterday venting their frustration about their plight. I sympathize with them, but I'm not sure what's going to be done, which can help them. Because yesterday, some of these were response to ESPN's Matt Miller saying something that I've kind of advocated at times. He said draft a running back, play the running back if he's good, franchise a running back one time, then draft a running back. Rinse, wash, repeat. Now, I've kind of put it this way when I've been giving some interviews. I said if I was a team, I'd be hard-pressed to pay a running back. I'd have to pay the right running back. He'd have to be a dual-threat guy. If I was going to pay him at the highest level, he'd have to be a dual-threat guy. Someone who's going to have receiving ability in addition to bring something to the passing game in addition to being my lead running back, a three-down back. I exaggerated and kind of said this in jest, but he would have to have the power of Jim Brown, the elusiveness of Barry Sanders, the pass-catching ability of Marshall Faulk, and the speed of Chris Johnson. Obviously, that guy's never existed, but you kind of get my drift. But yesterday, there's some things running backs were saying. If you're good enough, they'll find you. This is Jonathan Taylor. If you work hard enough, you'll succeed. If you succeed, you boost the organization, and then doesn't matter, you're a running back. Christian McCaffrey, this is criminal. 3 of the best players in the entire league, regardless of position. Derrick Henry, at this point, just take the running back position out of the game. The ones that want to be great, work as hard as they can, give their all to an organization. It just seems like it don't even matter. I'm with every running back that's fighting to get what they deserve. Austin Eckler, in response to that tweet, this is the kind of trash that has artificially devalued one of the most important positions in the game. Everyone knows it's tough to win without a top running back, yet they act like we're discardable widgets. I support any running back doing what it takes to get his bag. Najee Harris, I agree with my running back brothers around the NFL. History will show that you will need running backs to win. We set the tone every game and run through walls for our team and lead in many ways. This notion we deserve less is a joke. There's not a lot that's going to be done. The collective bargaining agreement runs through this decade. It was a 10-year collective bargaining agreement. There have been people who've said, we need to have special rules or a special union for running backs. Well, it is the NFLPA, the exclusive bargaining agent for the players, to represent the entire constituency. Running backs are just a small constituency. You're not going to be able to get something done special for running backs because, one, the NFL has no motivation to do it. And in order for the NFL to be motivated to do that, the union would have to give up some concession which would most likely be detrimental to the masses. Not going to happen. There have been people saying, oh, we should have running back rules changed so they can sign a new contract after 2 years. Not going to happen either. It used to be prior to the Ricky Wade scandal in 2011, all draft picks can sign new contracts after 2 years. For the sake of argument, let's say that you got this special exemption where running backs could sign new deals after 2 years if they're draft picks. Knowing that you potentially could pay a guy after the second year would probably lead to fewer running backs being drafted high in the first place, which doesn't happen very often to begin with. So it's about as likely that something's going to happen for running backs as it is that suggestion that there should be a quarterback exception to the salary cap. That's not happening either. So you can throw that out the window. Now, part of the problem has been the running backs that have gotten paid haven't provided teams the return on investment they were looking for. And we can just go back to some of the more recent ones. There are enough cautionary tales out there. Le'Veon Bell, when he went to the Jets in free agency, and he's the last running back to get paid. He signed a 4-year deal averaging $13.125 million per year, maxed out at 60th incentives. He made it about a season and a half in New York before they cut him. He didn't work out. Todd Gurley, they paid him after his third year in the NFL. And Gurley was fraught with some problems to me. He was coming into the league with a knee problem. Tore his ACL in his last year at Georgia, which led to the emergence of Nick Chubb as a freshman, which at the time made me think, not knowing how good Nick Chubb was, but I'm like, is Nick Chubb that good? Because he's basically doing what Todd Gurley's doing. So I don't know if it's the offense or he's got another special back, but Gurley came in for torn ACL, still went 10th in the draft, which was remarkable. Wouldn't happen today at that position. He got paid before Aaron Donald got paid. Aaron Donald had to hold out after his third year to get paid. Got nothing, except he had to play in his fourth year of his contract. Was holding out at the time when Todd Gurley got paid. He eventually got paid that same offseason in 2018, but Todd Gurley never played any of the new years under his contract. David Johnson with the Cardinals led the NFL in yards from scrimmage 1 year. Got paid $13 million per year, 39 over 3. Maxed out at 45 with all the escalators and incentives. And they ended up trading him to Houston because he never lived up to that one great year he had. Ezekiel Elliott held out after his third year, got paid. His best years were before he got paid. And the reason he got cut, he had his worst year of his career last year. Cautionary tales have made NFL teams gun-shy and reluctant to pay running backs. You also have the fact that the NFL is increasingly a pass-happy league. So the quarterback has always been central or the most valuable player on offense. He's more important. It being a pass-happy league, pass-centric, receivers now have more value. Also, for some of these teams, you got the emergence of the running quarterback that is taking away carries from running backs. Like Lamar Jackson's a 1,000-yard rusher. Justin Fields is. Daniel Jones is extremely mobile. So is Josh Allen. So you don't have statues back there at quarterback like the recently retired Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Quarterback position has evolved where you pretty much need a mobile quarterback. So that's factoring in the equation. Plus, teams are more likely to go running back by committee. And supply and demand. You have more talented running backs than there is demand for running backs. So that factors in the equation. We have seen this before. Running backs did have a downturn after Adrian Peterson and Chris Johnson got paid in 2011. The low point was 2017. Running back salaries had started declining over that time to the point where you didn't have any $10 million per year running backs on multi-year contracts. The highest paid guy was Devonta Freeman. He was averaging $8.25 million per year when he signed the deal in 2017. Then the trend started reversing in 2018 with Todd Gurley. I don't know if that happens again. But the one guy who could do it, I keep your eyes on Jonathan Taylor. If there is going to be a reversal or someone who's going to help stem the tide, stop the bleeding with running back salaries, it's going to be him. Jonathan Taylor is in a contract year. He'll be a free agent after the year. He was a second-round pick in 2020. In 2021, he led the NFL with 2,171 yards from scrimmage, had 1,811 rushing yards, 20 total touchdowns, 18 rushing touchdowns. He won the rushing title by 552 yards, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. It's coming off of the worst year of his career low 861 rushing yards, behind an underperforming offensive line featuring Quentin Nelson, a guard who was considered the best guard in football, then had the worst year of his career. So you've got a running back coming off of the worst year of his career in a contract year. In this climate, not a recipe for getting paid. But there are a couple things working in his favor. The Colts typically will sign core players to contracts in the final year of a rookie deal. And the Colts aren't going to have a high-priced quarterback for quite a while. Anthony Richardson was taken with the 4th overall pick. He's going to play this year. He's considered to be a work in progress. But the best friend of a quarterback that's going to develop is a strong running game. So they could actually pay Jonathan Taylor from the standpoint that you don't have the high-priced quarterback to contend with, and by the time that you have to pay Richardson, if he is their long-term solution at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor's deal will be over or practically over. Now, it'll be interesting to see if he gets an extension or he's in the same boat as Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. Now, Barkley in particular is the one that I thought would get done. They'd started negotiating in November, tried to get a deal done before the tag deadline, couldn't. The Giants pulled the offer after that, and things reignited recently. From talking to people today, here's what I got. The Giants, they're offering $13 million per year back in March. That they upped the guarantees, and the guarantees were in the $22 million per year neighborhood in the contract. And if you play on 2 franchise tags, it's going to be $22.2 million. But they lowered the average to like the 11 to 11.5 neighborhood, but had escalators in there. Now, if you're going to get a deal done, it isn't going to be by having the average less than what it was, which you offered me a few months ago. I know the market has changed, and you are well within your rights to take that into consideration, but he's never going to accept that. You're going to have to, now, if you kept it at 13 and moved the guarantees to the 22, 23 range, you probably had a deal. Now, seems to me the Giants are trying to win the negotiation. Now, there's a school of thought that an agent friend of mine told me recently. It makes a lot of sense that what is a right or fair deal is a deal where both sides are equally uncomfortable or close to equally uncomfortable. That means they're both going to places they really don't want to go. And to me, in this Giants situation, it's more Saquon's more uncomfortable than the Giants. Now, that being said, if you're a running back, maybe the traditional rules can go out the window given this climate. Because you play, let's for Saquon, let's say you play out this year, because I don't think either he or Josh Jacobs are going to sit out the entire year. I don't expect either one of them to show up at training camp on time. They can't get fined. They'll eventually come in, sign their tender, and play out the year. I don't see either one of them missing $560,000 of a game check to go into the regular season. That doesn't help them at all financially. But even though Saquon's in a better position to do that, because Saquon's made almost $38.5 million in his 5 years, whereas Josh Jacobs is slightly under 12. So he's in a better financial position to take a hit on a game check or two. Now, let's say both these guys go out and have great years. As a running back, are you really going to improve your market value? What's going to happen most likely is they're going to go, hey, well, you played well, that's great, but that's another year of mileage. You're a year older. You're more of a risk. You've got a shorter shelf life in the other position. When are the wheels going to fall off? So maybe for a running back, it's a structure you don't like, but it's better than your alternative, which is playing on the tag. And if history is any indication, because the last running back to really get paid was Le'Veon Bell, and that didn't go well. And you saw what happened with Miles Sanders this year. What are you really going to be worth next year? It may be your saving grace to get a franchise tag a second time. But I feel for the running backs, but I also understand why teams are doing what they're doing. They're allocating cash in cap dollars to other positions. And I don't think it's really going to change anytime soon. I don't think either one of these guys will break the bank if they're in free agency in 2024. Your best bet is to get paid by your own team. And Jonathan Taylor may be the one who can help stem the tide. Well, that's going to be it for this week's Inside the Cap. Don't forget, you can find me on Twitter at Corey Joel. That's CORRYJOEL. You can also read my regular CBSSports.com agents take on NFL salary cap and contract matters. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.